Sure. So I work for ReTrans Corporation, which is a leading third-party logistics company. We're a full-service third-party logistics. We're non-asset based, and we really have two primary service delivery modes. One is an agent-based field office network that focuses primarily on brokerage of freight that is probably 50-50 intermodal full truckload. A little bit of less than truckload that's starting to become a little bit more prominent in that part of the company. The other half of the company is a managed logistics company, and we work on delivering or work on automating as much of the supply chain for a customer as they're willing to let us or want us to. And so our customer list varies from food suppliers and perishable goods all the way up to hard goods, locks, doors, bolts, nuts, everything you can think of. My role at ReTrans is I'm the Chief Information Officer and Vice President of Information Technology, and my primary focus is really twofold. One is internal corporate information technology, automating what is becoming more and more of a knowledge-driven organization, as well as enabling our different business units to automate and to interact with their customers. So a heavy emphasis on integration with customers, a heavy emphasis on reporting tools, business intelligence, and things like that. Well, so the challenges that we were facing with our previous technology platforms are kind of the inverse of why we chose MercuryGate. Now, I will tell you that the decision to purchase MercuryGate occurred prior to me joining the company, so, but not much prior. It was probably 6 months or so. So I was actually joined ReTrans just at the tail end of the initial first implementation. So I was quite familiar with what the process was and everything like that. First, let me state that ReTrans has been a pretty aggressively growing company. We've been a high growth company for the last 12 years. And we built the company by not only excellent customer service and building good relationships with our accounts, and it is so not only just growing the customer base, but letting customers grow within that base. We did that through, I'll just say, cobbling together technology. When I got there, we had a TMS, a transportation management system that was built on Fox Pro, which is a legacy retired piece of technology with Microsoft. And we have we actually had 3 different TMSs, none of which were scalable. They ran on PCs that were literally in a broom closet. They weren't scalable, and they didn't have really modern features that a good TMS should have. The ability to do automated track and trace, the ability to do what-if scenario and optimization planning, rating engines, and things like that. So those were that was the case right there. Is we had literally busted out of the seams of what we had grown into. So we had grown really on the back of good customer service and had gotten to the point where we needed to look at something that could be scalable for us. And the executive team started to look in the industry and to try to make some decisions about what did they really want, in a new TMS or new generation TMS. And MercuryGate emerged as one of those strong contender. But we really have a little bit of everything for MercuryGate. So we have the basic TMS, we have Edge, we have Mojo, we have all of the standard importers that are built as part of the TMS. But I consider those as kind of separate products in a way. And so we use all of the features in terms of automated inputs and outputs and track and trace. So we've fully implemented EDI, we've fully implemented Mojo. And so those were all the pieces. So all of that right there in terms of feature sets is what kind of drove us to MercuryGate. I think some of the other intangibles are that they were obviously an innovator and a market leader. we considered them to be highly scalable. And obviously, they've always been able to step one foot forward and show us their reliability. As a service provider, they've been extremely reliable. Yeah, so in terms of expected benefits, we got all of the expected benefits in terms of out of MercuryGate TMS and the Mojo package. Mojo has been a fantastic sales tool. I can't sing praises enough about how Mojo helps us in the sales cycle. And it's also a great operational tool as well. So on the TMS side, track and trace and EDI and routing, and then and basically the Mojo has been perfect for us. I mean, it has all worked as planned. Some of the unexpected benefits that we had, ReTrans has always been a very process-driven organization in terms of being able to define a process and then drive the organization to satisfy a customer's need based upon that process. But what we found is that as we had a centralized TMS, and one of the core strengths, I haven't mentioned it yet, is that it has great innate reporting capability. So we got this really large cross-organizational data visibility that we hadn't expected. And so as we implemented our freight auditing processes, we really were able to drive a lot of efficiencies and a lot of accuracy into that. And so being able to match up, load weights and getting accuracy of invoicing, it was just a great benefit for us. It's actually driven headcount in a positive direction for us. In terms of the lessons I would pass on to somebody implementing a TMS, I'm not sure we would do anything differently. I actually think that we did a really good job. We had a great implementer. MercuryGate has an account management implementer model where they work with you directly, and they did a really good job on the front end of planning early and planning often. And so I think that we have a phrase we use in the company. It's you can plan more or you can pay more. And so one of the things that I think we did a really good job of is planning or documenting and planning our process. So that is step number one, rule number one when you're going to be implementing something this complex. And I think the second piece, and I don't think it's a big surprise, is don't try to do a big bang. We didn't. I will tell you, it took us 2 years, and it wasn't. Part of this is that once we made the decision to go with MercuryGate, all new business went to the MercuryGate platform, and so what ended up happening with us is we kept getting new business, and so our legacy customers, trying to siphon them off the older platforms into a migration, always became a challenge because there was another new customer just around the corner. But I would definitely, even if you had a static environment, I would tell you to start small and do things at a measured pace. Do not do a big bang. And we didn't, and I think we definitely, it made it easier for us. Because we were able to, ingest the learning from each new customer, because each customer is unique. And as we built upon that, we got to the point where new customer implementations or legacy implementations actually became quite smooth for us. Absolutely. So onboarding customers in MercuryGate, we really changed our philosophy. When I arrived at ReTrans, our integration path with a customer is we would hand them a methodology, or we would hand them our format of how we could integrate, and we'd say, well, you really have to do that. And that may not always work. And so the immediate thing that we got out of the MercuryGate relationship is that we were able to be a lot more flexible. And so if a customer needed to do item level detail on their load plans, we could do that. Or if they needed to, if they were doing multi-freight class shipments, or if they were, just the flexibility became an asset for us. And we didn't suffer by being more flexible. Sometimes you have this thought that, well, if I'm inflexible and I do it the same way every time, then I can drive my error rate down, and I can keep things in the lane here. But the truth is that as we got more flexible, we actually integrated more easily and more reliably in with the customers, because they didn't have to necessarily jump through hoops to fit our square peg. And so I think that was a big benefit for us, I think. Yeah, so the future of 3PLs from an IT perspective, let's say, or from my catbird seat of our business. I have to tell you this, that I had been with our company, and I had a long conversation one day with our CEO, David Wedeman, and I'd been with the company maybe 6 months, I think, and you're always, as a IT professional, one of the big things for you is to make sure that you have executive sponsorship. I mean, that's if in the IT world, if you don't have executive sponsorship, you're pushing uphill every day, And so, David and I were talking, and we were just talking about how rating was done, and how invoicing was done, and how it affected our field service or field agent offices, and we're talking about how to get visibility of gross margin and this and that, and he looked at me one day. He looked at me across my desk, and he said, I guess we're really just in the information business. And I was like, oh gosh, made my day. I was like, this is fantastic. So, right there, he didn't have to really say much more, other than, he really had bought into the idea that we're becoming a knowledge-based organization. And so, that's I think that's one thing, is the recognition that as a 3PL, if you aren't thinking that way, you're probably going to get caught by surprise by somebody who is thinking that way. So definitely an investment in technology, and at least an investment in the strategy of knowing that that's important. And so, like we did, we talked about earlier, is that the whole concept of having either good partners or good staff, talent acquisition, whether it's talent on your staff, and in the modern technology world, building a big staff of people is maybe not always the most agile way to get things done. Sometimes you have to be innovative and think about having, a stable of partners, as well as a stable of good people and good vendors. And so that, you have to really focus on talent acquisition. And then I think that we can't deny that there's probably going to be industry factors other than technology that are important. Obviously, government regulations that are going to keep, driving the cost up. And I was reading the other day, actually, that the average age of drivers in the trucking industry is starting to climb, because for some reason there's a little difficulty in attracting younger drivers. And so I think those types of pressures that are on the cost side are a challenge for 3PLs, because we have to deliver some bad news to our customers. But if you're good with your data and you have your good relationships, you can break the bad news in a way that they can understand, at least, and maybe participate in a solution. I think that's the biggest part of it.